Well, it's a very good morning, a good afternoon, or a good evening to you, wherever you are listening to our Coaching Cafe. My name is Dr. Natalie Ashdown. Welcome to the Coaching Cafe. And today we are talking about CEOs who coach. And I'm very privileged to be able to interview Pat Cooper, the CEO from HVCCC. Welcome to the line, Pat.
Thanks, Nat.
So before we begin, let me acknowledge the traditional owners and the custodians on the lands which we're all meeting today, and then continuing connection to the lands and the waters, the communities of Australia, and the lands from all around the world where you might be joining us. We pay our respects to them and to their elders past, present, and emerging, and elders from Indigenous communities from all around the world. So for today, we're continuing our series, the CEOs Who Coach series. We've had a really great set of conversations, and I'm really looking forward to today's conversation. As you know, whenever I get excited, I always talk too fast, so I'm trying to slow down. And we're really focusing on that coaching approach to leadership. Why is it important? What impact have our leaders seen? And why is it, or how is it part of their overall leadership approach as well? So, if you are new to the Coaching Cafe, we say welcome. We come together this time either on Fridays or on your favorite streaming service. We're all about creating a shared learning experience together, having thought-provoking conversations. And for those of you that are here to collect your ICF CCEs, then they will be available for you at the end of the session if you are listening to this live. So you can pick up your CCEs. But now I want to just really focus on our conversation. So we've been saying for a while now, never has there been a better time for coaching, and that's what we're going to be exploring today with yourself, Pat. So perhaps I might kick off our conversation, Pat. I'll just stop my screen there. And I was reflecting actually, it's been almost 10 years since you and I met actually in at the Air Force leadership course, the coaching course, back in Glenbrook, New South Wales. I'm finding it hard to believe it's been 10 years actually.
Hey, thanks, Natalie, for inviting me to do this. I'm actually quite flattered that you reached out, a little bit nervous that I need to do justice to this, and also some of the folks that I would have done some that training with, and then facilitated them doing the course over the subsequent decade or so, might actually be dialing in. So,
Yes, yes, I'm hoping they are. We've got that really strong alumni, so they'll be listening to you. They'll be listening to you.
yeah,
So I'm interested, if you take us back to those early days, because that was the early days of implementing coaching and the certificate for into Air Force. You were the commanding officer of 44 Wing, I think, back then, air traffic control. I remember drinking a lot of coffee on those courses because air traffic control really enjoyed drinking coffee. I think they still do. But I'm wondering, Pat, would you perhaps describe your leadership style back then and then perhaps how it's evolved, bringing coaching into your leadership style? What would you say?
yeah, thanks. I won't bore everyone with diving too deeply into my leadership style, but one of the things that was evident from my general style of interacting with folks at that stage was I love developing other people. I still do. I've literally got on my desk the strength scope
Yeah.
cards from the third floor, and sitting at the top of them is developing others is something that
Yeah.
energizes me, and it always did. And that, as much as that's true, my style of doing that, and I had done a command appointment prior to that as well, and so it wasn't my first uh, foray into being responsible for other people, but I did lean too heavily on a mentoring style. Um,
Mm,
which was okay. I ran things more like a big family and an ever increasing family. The problem with that mentoring style and or depending too heavily on that was it demanded my constant presence and constant interactions. And there was even at the smaller scale, the downside was there was a risk of learned helplessness in that I would be too engaged in solving other people's problems, and
mm,
that there was a time factor that I couldn't sustain there. And there's also a bit egotistical, sort of just be more like me. It was tended to be
Yes.
the sort of, in a roundabout way, the way of answering the challenges that I was talking to people about. Um, and so this sort of big family, just be more like me. The risk there was it wasn't scalable, and I was posted into a role where there was about 600 staff,
Mm.
of varying skills and qualifications, air traffic controllers and engineers and technicians and HR experts and administrators and logisticians. And so it was dispersed and diverse, and my style of interacting was just not scalable for that. I couldn't
Mm.
sort of be engaged with them all the time. I couldn't run it like a family. I couldn't have them be more like me. They were not like me. And they were in Perth or Darwin or the middle of the Northern Territory or North Queensland or southeastern Victoria. And so my style had reached its limits because I couldn't
Yes.
be present. My style of interaction had reached its limits. And I saw, and it is actually 11 years ago since I did this course, not 10, but by another year. But it was actually in May 2015. And I'm
Okay.
going to say it's like this week, 11 years ago, to be something like
That's crazy. Yeah.
and I saw the course description for the Cert 4, the two-pager, and I thought, actually, there's something in that. I might spare the time. I was really, the course, the folks I did it with were really those early adopters, and that course then went on and carried the torch for Air
Yeah.
Force. There were some folks there that really lent in hard, more than I did. I sort of got on with my day job a bit, but they did some remarkable things partnering with you and open door coaching for Air Force's leadership development program. They're quite impressive,
Yes.
the legacy
Yeah, it
from that.
was wonderful. They've gone on and it's still continuing the coaching 101s that they developed in those early days as well. So it's quite inspiring the case study from that perspective. And
Mm.
then and I'm thinking, Pat, then how did you bring more and more of that coaching approach into your role then? How did that kind of evolve for you?
What I what I brought in after that, like I was the only person from my workforce on that early training
Mm.
course. I saw an opportunity with the workforce distributed over 13 locations around Australia. And all of the managers that I would have interactions with were already legitimately experienced and formally trained and high functioning leaders in
Mm.
challenging roles. And they were undergoing annual professional development programs. And so this was not a bunch of folks doing a cold start that I go, I'm sure, thank God I'm here to save you. This is not like that. These were people that
Mm.
were doing their jobs well based on what they had their qualification, skills, and experience. So I saw this as another thing to add on, not anything to displace what they were doing. It was just I had witnessed it as you would, as you said it a lot of the time, and I assume you still do, that it's a toolkit course, and this was
Yeah.
another series of tools to add to that tool belt, and also like professional military officers have that sort of mindset. I think, and I'll pooch the quote, but JFK had a quote about leading cannot exist without learning, or
Mm.
leading and learning are inseparable, words to that effect.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so this was just an opportunity. Then I had the resources and the office to say, hey, we're going to add another skill to what we do in our workforce, and because the air traffic workforce in defence is dispersed, uh,
Mm.
that here's a thing that can help with that sort of autonomous leadership that they were required to do. They can't be calling me in the middle of the night or over the weekend because it's a 24/7 operation, or indeed from overseas in deployed operations. They can't be calling the boss to say, what would you do in this circumstance? So that whole self-coaching mindset, as well as how they interacted with the workforce, I was pretty excited to add that to their skills.
Yeah, and I do, yes, I do agree with what you say. We're not replacing, as you say, we're adding and building it within the parameters and the guardrails of what their requirements of their jobs are as well. And I remember at the time, Pat, talking to you a lot about younger younger leaders, younger than us, I suppose, when I say younger, like the younger leaders,
Everyone.
the up and coming, yeah, the up and the up and coming leaders. And particularly, I lent into your mentoring around young men and because I was working with young men and leaders at the time. What are you thinking about now in terms of um, the you know the younger than us, the generation down, I suppose, and their leadership and coaching? Have you got ideas? I mean, we definitely had ideas back then, but has that evolved or developed over the time as well?
Um, I'm not in touch with all of the folks that we've rolled the training out with. Some I'm still quite close to, but what I have witnessed amongst that cohort is some in some cases some really quite life-changing outcomes for them in terms of um, career planning and life planning. And like the air traffic workforce was, I don't know, it still is to the same extent, but it's very mobile because of there's a few locations are quite unpopular that will generate churn because you needed to take people out of those locations, which meant it was a very mobile workforce because there's just so many places they can be posted to,
Mm,
and so the one of the things that we did rather than be doing coaching uh, around people's day-to-day work challenges, there was a lot of career and life planning that I was quite privileged to participate in with folks. That was my experience was rather than
mm,
coaching them through the problems they were solving in their professional situations, it was like, okay, how to coach someone to create an implementable career and family life plan over the next 5 or 10 years. And so in some cases, I think and I know from some of those because they've come back to me years later and go, this thing, like I did it. I did the things I said I was going to do uh,
yeah.
in terms of helping kids get through milestones at schools and changeovers and spouse employment and intersperse their career plans with that. And also so that they could self-coach a lot of it through where they were going to make compromises, where they're going to say, hey, I basically can't have it all here. I'm going to have to delay this career point in order to meet my priorities, so obviously my family and those goals, and then I'll come back and re-energize on the career thing at this point, and and,
Mm,
and go into that clear-eyed, so not a victim, not bloody Air Force, or whatever. So
yeah.
I was quite inspired by that, and I didn't actually realize it was happening at the time. And then
Yes.
it was years later interacting with those folks. And I was lucky to be in a room where one gave a presentation and said, hey, this is one of the best things I've ever done. And it was this career life goal that him and I had done together, literally as part of my recording assignment for the Cert 4.
Yeah.
For me, it was to get the Cert 4.
To tick it
For
off, but
this
for
person,
him,
it was like getting
yeah.
kids through high school and his wife's career and his career. And yeah, quite amazing.
Yeah, it is. It is wonderful. I think it's one of the privileges we have where, we people that we've coached many years ago potentially have come back and said, that thing we talked about, well, I've actually done it. And yeah, it does really make your heart sing. And like you said, it's linked completely to you wanting to develop others and that being your purpose. And I feel the same way. So yeah, thank you for sharing that. I was going to fast forward actually to your HVCCC days where you're the CEO currently. And I'm wondering, you have brought coaching into HVCCC. We've done a number of programs, and I'm thinking, why does it's a completely different organization? Why does coaching matter to HVCCC in your organization today?
Yeah, okay. So HVCCC, I came here in 2019. I inherited from a wonderful CEO, an excellent organisation that was functioning really well. The challenge I had was I couldn't observe a consistent baseline of leadership and management skills. Like people had amazing qualifications and skills and experience, but as
Mm.
far as some might have been really strong on various sort of themes of leadership management, but there
Mm.
was a consistent baseline that I could identify and expect and communicate in a way that I could have confidence that everyone in the room knows what I'm talking about.
Mm.
Everyone on the same sort of page
Yeah.
as a baseline to that. So I saw the Cert 4 as an opportunity to baseline. And so there'll be some folks that are far more advanced in, I don't know, change management or something like that. But if we put everyone through this, then I know everyone knows about Cotter's 8 steps.
Mm.
To use that as just one example. So I saw that as an opportunity to baseline. I also recognise that HVCCC is a 24/7 operation. So similar to Air Force air traffic control in that case it's dispersed in 24/7. Here we're largely on one site, but running 24/7, that the managers and executives can't be present all the time. So similarly requires people to function with that autonomy, being able to self-coach and coach in a shift work environment. What else? This is a highly technical workforce. We've got a whole bunch of PhD and master's level folks here. It would be 2/3 of the workforce are university graduates doing highly technical things.
Yes.
So they're in their day jobs, not always, but oftentimes there was less emphasis on bringing groups of people along with whatever they needed to do. So the coaching Cert 4 coaching course, Cert 4 allowed us to sort of add some skills based on skills. There might be I don't know, a PhD modeler or something, or really bright people, but haven't turned their mind to how to bring a group of people that would otherwise not make those same choices or whatever, to bring out the best in others,
Yes.
to
Yeah.
coin a phrase from a book title. Yeah, so in their life, their journey, there was a bunch of really highly skilled, bright people that hadn't had to emphasize that communication style and toolkit that the Cert 4 brought out. So I thought about that as basically it was an adaptable baseline of skills that could be applied equally, whether they're doing the vessel and stockpile planning or rail planning, or designing a digital twin to simulate the performance of the network and then optimize it.
Yes, yeah. And you talk quite a lot about the benefits in terms of their ability to make decisions when the boss is, in a 24-hour work environment with the speed and the urgency and everything. Have you noticed, and you've talked about the benefits in terms of their personal lives as well and careers. Have you noticed anything else in particular, Pat, that stood out in terms of the benefits of the coaching that you've implemented?
Yeah, communication styles, the ability to ask open questions,
Mm.
the ability to reframe things on the fly, chunking skills, to sort of chunk up and chunk down on the fly in meetings when we're facing challenging situations or decision making stuff, and also the strengths based training. Um, uh, that comes to the fore. Like each person has got their little strength scope card pack, and you can see I get around to their desks, and they'll have a different one that's sitting at the top, and sometimes
Yeah.
I change them around. I like that. What else would I see a deeper understanding and sort of value and respect for personality types and learning styles.
That's
So
good.
HVCCC uses DISC as our primary one rather than the Myers-Briggs. But everyone comes out of the Cert 4 course having had a lot of fun with the Myers-Briggs thing, and particularly the Simpsons characters and stuff. But that sort of understanding and respect and value for the different personality types and learning styles.
Yeah.
Um, what else? In performance management, so a whole bunch of skills on how to communicate better in performance management, and I mentioned change management before. We deal with a lot of that here. We've got 20 organisations that are the sort of members that we serve here, and so invariably everything we do has a change management piece, not just inside the organisation, but how we land that for the interdependent member group. That
Yeah. External
some
stakeholders.
of the things from the course that I see are benefits that are now ingrained, because we put every single line leader in the company on this course in the first couple of years, and then next level and with internal promotions. I think we'd certainly be north of 80% of the line leaders would still be Cert 4 qualified with coaching.
No, it's wonderful. Yeah, it's wonderful. Thank you. And you did share with me your very recent engagement scores. So,
Yeah.
so I think all the work you're doing, Pat, that's reflected in the outstanding engagement scores you have across the organisation as well. So, um,
Yeah, but the execs don't know about that yet, so don't
okay.
share it. It's not recorded, is it?
Exactly.
I don't know.
Well, I know we're right on time. I know you're preparing for a board meeting coming up in just a short period of time. So, is there anything else you are thinking about or observations, insights you want to share about either your own leadership style or implementing coaching?
Look, I'm drawn to this course because it's simple. Now,
Mm,
just because it's simple doesn't mean it's easy, but it works because it's simple. They are simple, relatable models. Um, it's not easy. It requires continuous discipline and returning to the theory of it to stay focused on it. But yeah, I think that's probably why this course as opposed to the myriad of leadership management things we could send people off to do. It's simple, it's scalable. Provided we have the discipline, then we can stay on it and see the results.
yeah, wonderful. Well, Pat, I really, really want to acknowledge everything you've done, over the years. It's and it continues to be, a great relationship in terms of me learning from you as a leader, not only you learning from the programs, but and your people learning from the programs, but I've learned so much from you as a leader. So it's been a privilege from that point of view. You've described where you started and how coaching evolved as part of the toolkit and how coaching is making a difference to people's personal lives and their professional lives. But most importantly, I think we align and resonate around developing people and the purpose and the passion around that. So thank you for the work you do, and thanks for being part of it.
Absolutely, and I'm quite flattered. Thank you, Natalie, for inviting me to participate in this and to be having been part of your journey as well in that past 11 years. I'm quite flattered and honoured to have even witnessed a little bit of that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Well, with that, everybody, we say thank you for joining us. I hope you feel really inspired as I feel inspired from talking to Pat. And as we always say, enjoy your coaching.